In this video, I'm going to be sharing my 5 favorite modifications that I've done on my MK7 Golf Sportwagen and sharing a little bit about how much I've spent so far. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited because literally in between when I recorded that intro you just saw to right now, my new coilovers were literally just delivered in my driveway, so I took a quick break and broke those open and took a peek, and I'm just super jazzed about them. If you didn't see on social media, on my Instagram account, I did end up going with the PSS 10s from Bilstein with the B16 shocks and struts, and they look absolutely gorgeous, so I'm excited to see how they go. And speaking of Instagram, that's one thing I haven't really mentioned before here. If you get a chance, I'd love for you to follow me over on Instagram as well and really connect with me, not just follow me, because I'll follow you as well, because I'd love to see all of your cars and what you're sharing and all that stuff. And it's where I do a bunch of requests for what should I make videos about. So let's be friends, hit me up on Instagram. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what my 5 favorite mods are that I've done to my car, my MK7 Golf Sportwagen. And if you haven't been following the channel for very long or at all, you might say, how would you know what the best are and how many have you even done? And I will share that. And I don't know that these are the best, but these are my favorite that I've done, and I will share with you what they are. So in preparing for this video, I went through and tallied all the parts that I've added and modified on my car, as well as took a look at how much I spent on each of those and totaled it up, which I will share with you. But first, I'm going to run through that entire list so we can take a look at, okay, what have I done and what then is going to stick out as my top 5 favorite. And I'm going to list them from least expensive to most expensive. So let's get started with that, and I'll make it pretty quick. So let's kick this off with the first mod, which was my dynamic turn signals for my side view mirrors to add just a little bit of flair to the car. Next is the 034 dog bone mount insert to reduce some trans wiggle. Recently I sprayed some super wrap to paint my wheels and calipers. I ordered the best and most expensive options for paddle shifter extensions with the LeyoMotorsport paddles, and I do have to say they are pretty sweet. I never actually made a video about these, but I do have a set of adjustable front end links from Whiteline. When I was getting ready for my turbo upgrade, I picked up a Unitronic turbo inlet. For my up north adventures and style points, I picked up some Rally Armor mud flaps. Early on in this build, I installed the Racing Line stud conversion kit since I'm constantly removing my wheels and change them out often, and I do really love this product. Again, for dirt road driving, and now that my car is going to be potentially lower with my new coilovers, I installed an ECS Street Shield skid plate. H&R Sport springs were installed to lower the car's stance in the center of gravity. To help the wagon back end stay planted through turns, I upgraded the rear sway bar and the end links to a 24mm Whiteline rear sway bar with Moog end links. Another turbo upgrade preparation piece was the integrated V2 cold air intake. To smooth out the braking, I performed the 312mm front brake upgrade with new calipers, brake pads, and rotors. Next, to keep an eye on some data while I was driving, I installed a P3 digital vent gauge. To make the car a little less boring up front, I installed an Icon Motorsports GTI front bumper conversion kit with some knockoff fog lights. Helix 7.5 headlights were installed to match the front bumper's aggressive look and give myself some sweet LED DRLs. The stock intercooler was swapped for a Unitronic intercooler. When I upgraded to Stage 2, a downpipe was required for that, so I installed a 3-inch integrated engineering downpipe. About a year ago, I got the car professionally wrapped in 3M matte olive green and satin black vinyl. After installing the downpipe early on, I upgraded my ECU and TCU software with the Stage 2 tune from Unitronic. I have 2 sets of wheels and tires that I swapped back and forth. One was a used set and one was a new set. And finally, the big boy mod, the IHI IS38 Turbo, which I'm including the cost of the ECU tune upgrade as well, since they kind of go hand in hand. So taking all those modifications and totaling them all up and not including any sort of maintenance or repair costs at all, I've spent just under $11,000 on this build so far. It is getting hot in here. Alright, now that you know everything I've done to my car, let's get into what of those are my 5 favorites. And so you know, I'm not going to be listing these from my least favorite to my most favorite, but more maybe what you should tackle first if you were going to be starting a MK7 Golf build. So mod number one, and the one I might suggest starting with, would be an ECU tune for your car, and one specifically that doesn't necessarily require any hardware upgrades right off the bat. Going with a stage 1 or a stage 1 plus tune will dramatically change how you feel about your car, how much you love driving it, and get you excited for all the rest of the potential that your car might have. One important note to think about as you start to plan your build and think about maybe doing a tune is if your car is an automatic and has a DSG transmission, there will also be a TCU tune or transmission tune that you will need to pick up to go with it. It's not 100% required, but it's something I definitely suggest doing if the tuner suggests doing it, because it makes a huge difference in drivability and especially in daily driving. Which tuner you end up choosing isn't all that important, and you'll spend way too much time trying to figure out which one is right for you. All of the stage 1 tunes out there are pretty amazing, and many of them are very reliable. What you do need to think about is how far you plan to take your build. If you do plan to maybe one day go with a larger turbo or something of that nature, you may want to look at utilizing one of the larger tuners such as Unitronic or APR, who will accommodate that because it'll help reduce your overall long-term cost when upgrading tunes. For my build specifically, I went with Unitronic Stage 2 ECU and TCU tune, and it added an estimated 70 horsepower. And where I could really see the difference was that 0 to 60, and I was able to hit somewhere right above a 5-second 0 to 60 time, which is pretty darn fast for a wagon with really no other upgrades. Since I've had the car, I haven't run into any issues with flashing the car or having it cause any sort of problems. I also had amazing support from the Unitronic staff when I was going to do the original flash, which I really appreciated. My final note about this tune, and it's really repeating what I said earlier, is that if you have an automatic and DSG transmission, get the matching TCU tune. It's tempting when you see you could cut the cost of not having that, but without it, the car just doesn't drive the way it should, and you're really not maximizing the tune. Favorite mod number 2 is my cold air intake, because I guess I'm a child at heart. It's widely known that cold air intakes on these cars really don't do anything when it comes to power gains. The integrated engineering V2 intake just really changed the entire feeling of driving the car. Hearing it suck in air and recirculate the excess boost pressure is just such an enjoyable driving soundtrack. It's childish, but it just sounds so awesome and it brings me so much joy. And I know many of you car enthusiasts are going to be the same way. I chose the integrated engineering V2 intake because I liked its simple tray design and the way it used the entire front duct. It was also fairly simple, which helped it be a lower cost option, but if you wanted to dress it up, there is also a cover that's available for it too, which I'm always kind of thinking about. Modification number 3 on this list is really all about the looks, and that is my Helix 7.5 headlights. After I upgraded the front bumper to the GTI conversion kit, I really wanted to get rid of those original halogen headlights. And I think that's what makes these 7.5 headlights so great. I mean, yes, the quality on this build are awesome, and yes, the daytime running lights look sweet, and I love the blacked out look, but really, it was how bad the original halogen headlamps just are. They're gross. Before and when I first ordered these, I was pretty apprehensive about it because they're pretty expensive and they're just headlights at the end of the day. However, once I got them, the build quality is great, and once they were installed, they look excellent. And the daytime running lights with those nice little L shapes is pretty sweet. Favorite mod number 4 is swapping out the rear sway bar for a thicker, stiffer one. For this, I used the Whiteline 24mm rear sway bar, and while I was in there, I took out the old plastic end links and swapped them out for some great Moog all-metal end links. Out of all the modifications that I've done on this car so far, and I think many of my peers who drive Mark 7s would agree, the rear sway bar swap is the most bang for the buck. At just $260 and a part that's pretty easy to install, it really is a big upgrade for the suspension and keeps the car super flat through the turns. And there's almost no adverse effect to your daily driving experience. Alright, upgrade number 5, and my final one that I'm going to be listing today is probably the one that you've been expecting the whole time, and that is the IS38 Turbo upgrade. And to be clear, when I'm talking about the IS38 Turbo upgrade, which is the turbo that comes from the Golf R, I am also including the software, or the Stage 2 Plus, that goes with this piece of hardware. Just as a reminder, the IHI IS38 Turbo, along with the software and a few other components, cost me around $1,600. But that isn't really the full picture, because you also need to upgrade your intercooler, your downpipe, your intake, and a few other miscellaneous components. So in the end, you're probably going to be a little closer to $300 or $3,500 when you do this. However, what you get out of it is pretty amazing. By upgrading the turbo on my car to the IS38 Turbo and the corresponding software that it needed, I was able to add an estimated 180 horsepower. That's more horsepower than comes with the car from the factory, which that in itself is pretty insane. And the fact that the IS38 Turbo is one that comes from another car in the Golf family and really bolts right up is also a huge advantage. With the new turbo installed, this car is now able to hit 60 miles per hour in just over 4 seconds. And the coolest part is that when I'm daily driving this thing, it feels almost exactly the same until I want it to feel different. And the power really is super smooth. If you want something that's going to be throwing you around and just smashing you into the back of the seat, you can get there when you're up in the higher RPMs, but overall, the power pulls with the IS38 are so smooth, and the car is so quick, and every time you step on it, you just get a big smile on your face. And overall, it's a pretty easy upgrade, but it's not a cheap one. Alright everybody, those were my 5 favorite modifications for my Mark 7 Golf Sportwagen. I'd love to see what you think in the comments below of maybe what I missed, or what should have been there, or ask me a question of why something didn't make my top 5 list. I'm super responsive in the comments and would love to chat with you about it. Now, I do have to add one honorable mention, and that is my 3M vinyl wrap. I love it so much, and you know, it really keeps the car easy to clean, it keeps the paint protected, and really it's the first thing most people notice about my car when they see it. So I do totally suggest that as well. It just, however, didn't make the top 5. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and I'm really excited about my new Coil-Over, so I'm going to go check those out right now. See you in the next video. Favorite mod number 4 is swapping out a rear. Favorite mod number 4 is swapping out a. Favorite mod number 4 is swapping. Favorite mod number 4. Favorite mod number 4 is swapping.